Welcome to Gameonysus Weekly, your one-stop shop for video game news, keeping up with the biggest stories so you don't have to. I'm your host, Janet Garcia, and today we're talking about Ubisoft being under investigation over sexual harassment, the PS Studio that was and then wasn't, and recapping the Pokemon Presents event. All these stories and so much more on today's episode. Starting off with the Ubisoft Studio under investigation over sexual harassment, workplace discrimination reports. This comes over from Luke Plunkett at Kotaku, who writes, the Tripartite Alliance for Fair and Progressive Employment Practices, aka the TAFEP, Singapore's national workplace watchdog, has launched an investigation into Ubisoft's local studio following allegations of sexual harassment and workplace discrimination. As the Straits Times reports, TAFEP began receiving its own anonymous reports late last month, following the revelation that the studio's office culture was so bad that, quote, Ubisoft Singapore has always been kind of known internally to be one of the worst Ubisoft studios in terms of culture, said one former developer at the publisher of Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. People would visit from other studios and be like, what the fuck is wrong here? TAFEP is now urging anyone with knowledge of any criminal conduct, such as sexual harassment and assault, to immediately report such incidents to the police. As a national watchdog, the organization has the power to force Ubisoft Singapore to change its workplace policies, and employers may be tasked to carry out an investigation through interviews with affected parties and witnesses and to review documented evidence. The Straits Times report also says the results of the investigation can be dealt with in one of two ways. In cases where sexual misconduct involves criminal offenses, such as molestation, the police will be involved, while on issues of workplace discrimination, Singapore's Ministry of Manpower can take punitive measures such as blocking Ubisoft's ability to apply for or renew its work permits for foreign staff for a period of 12 to 24 months, which would impact 60% of the studio's expert and senior expert roles. The investigation comes following reports that the company culture at Ubisoft Montreal, Toronto, Quebec, Montpellier, and the head of the Paris office have also been found to be rife with harassment. And as usual, I think the fact that these things are getting attention and being investigated thoroughly are really important for trying to make meaningful change. Certainly, I think being the presumably worst studio among Ubisoft studios is pretty extreme, given that Ubisoft has had a very now public recent history of issues of harassment, discrimination, folks stepping down, folks being let go as a result of these things, and the employees overall saying the things that are being done to improve the workplace are not enough. And we saw that a little bit with even that open letter that Ubisoft employees wrote, sort of in support towards those at Activision Blizzard who are fighting for their own improvements of workplace culture, talking about their struggles and how, you know, showing unity, but also calling upon Ubisoft leadership to do more. And again, I think it's so interesting bringing in the real repercussions of the situation of banning or blocking permits for a time and potentially really throwing a wrench in how the team can work and how development does work. Again, reminding us that obviously we have a human moral obligation to care about people suffering and workplace discrimination, but there's also that additional layer of we can really see these things begin to negatively impact development, and it's only a matter of time before something like this really does destroy a studio, not just in who's there, but also in like the work that is being put out as a result of that. So hopefully good things come from this. I mean, sometimes you do need to start tearing things down to build it up better than it was before, and you know, I continue to look toward a future where these issues aren't so predominant in this industry, but I think we are really far away from that. And I think part of getting there is going through this painful process of all of these different allegations and reports and things being filed and investigations occurring and all of that stuff. Now let's talk about the PSVR Studio that was and then just wasn't. This is Polygon's cover story, written by Jack Yarwood, and the title is Sony spent 5 years building a new PlayStation VR studio, then abruptly shut it down. Sony Manchester's CSAR, Combat Search and Rescue, was to be a VR helicopter action game, harkening back to the old days, but it never ended up materializing. And before we dig into this article, I do want to highlight the cover art used for this cover story because it is just so gorgeous and striking and just absolutely beautiful. You have to please look at this article and look at the art because it's phenomenal. And if you are listening to the podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/Gameonysus, you will be seeing that now. So if you want that visual, that's another place that you can go and get it from. And the art was made by Isip Shin, who has their own website of the same name. That's isipxin.com. And holy cow, all their illustrations are phenomenal. Such incredible work. And now I'll be reading from the article directly, though I will have taken out some portions just to try to make it a little bit shorter. On February 5th, 2020, PlayStation head of Worldwide Studios, Herman Hulst, visited Sony Manchester to tell employees the studio was closing. The news came as a shock to some inside the studio, a group made up of expats and locals, a few with decades of experience working with Sony. The studio had been advertising new positions at the time, and suddenly team members were looking for jobs as Sony abandoned the project they had been working on for the last 5 years. At the time, a PlayStation representative told GameIndustry.biz that the closure was, quote, part of our efforts to improve efficiency and operational effectiveness. But 5 individuals close to the studio and the project told us about its development, speaking anonymously as they had signed NDAs regarding their work. They say, despite being in development for roughly 5 years, the game they were making lingered in pre-production for much of that time, in part due to endless iteration and a lack of pressure from Sony leadership. Sources reveal that Sony Manchester was developing a throwback to old-school action games like Genesis shooter Desert Strike, albeit in 3D and utilizing modern technology on PlayStation 4. It even had a name, SCAR, Combat, Search, and Rescue, or Rescue for short. The concept had started at Evolution Studios, the group behind PS4 racing game Drive Club, as one of the many ideas the studio had been conceptualizing for PlayStation VR. Evolution pitched a video of potential VR experiences, and the idea of a helicopter game caught the eyes of Matthews and Green, who decided to take the concept further at the new Manchester studio. Eric Matthews, the vice president of Sony Worldwide Studios and a former Bitmap Brothers co-founder, and Sony research director Mark Green, both of whom were based in London, for those who need that refresher on who those people actually are. To continue. The game had players flying around, shooting at enemies, and rescuing people from the cockpit of a helicopter. The player had a co-pilot and access to an aircraft carrier that acted as a central base. It was at this aircraft carrier where the player would select their next location and mission before flying out into the world to complete objectives. The team created multiple prototypes over the years to present to senior members at Worldwide Studios, as well as Sony's marketing department. But the leadership behind the project jumped between different design approaches as time went on, frustrating some of the team. The studio would work on one flavor of the game for 6 to 12 months before changing something that sent the team backwards. Some of the issues range from concerns about the art style and whether it was tinted too blue to the placement of NPCs and how the rescue and combat missions would play out. Multiple former employees point to Matthews and Green's micromanagement as a bottleneck to the project's development. According to people who worked at the studio, Matthews and Greens acted as the co-lead designers on CSAR early on, but they were not embedded with the team and didn't have official job titles beyond their work elsewhere in the company. They would travel down to the studio roughly once a week, with those in Manchester responsible for implementing their design. Sources claim the two had a habit of taking a particularly hands-on approach with the development process during their weekly visits, occasionally altering the work of artists and encouraging programmers to leave certain parameters exposed so they could tweak them later. Multiple former staff members said this had a demoralizing effect on some members of the team who felt they weren't trusted to do their work properly without outside interference. The article then goes on to talk about morale lowering for other reasons, including lack of creative control and also not having things like an official office space, like they were sort of renting this temporary area that they were sharing with other workers and didn't end up moving to something more proper. The article continues with, these issues had a knock-on effect on morale, with the resources mentioning people would join the studio, excited by the prospect of working at Sony on a new IP, only to work on the project for a number of months, and for reality to set in. Despite the studio's AAA aspirations, the team never numbered more than 30 people. Though the team frequently advertised for positions, higher-ups were reluctant to increase the numbers significantly until the project entered full production, a decision that kept getting delayed. Meanwhile, members of the studio kept leaving throughout 2016, with original lead designer Gary Napper departing in June to join Supermassive Games. Former Evolution staff such as principal VFX artist Richard Heisman and principal environmental artist Amrish Wedekar moving to Codemasters, and the studio director Sam Coates joining the LEGO Group in July, to list only a few. After Coates left, Matthew and Green took on official roles with the team, but remained in London. Matthews became the new studio director, while Green assumed a role as creative director. The two added staff, hiring artists and programmers who had previously worked for studios such as Ubisoft Reflections, Sony Liverpool, Sony XDev, and Electronic Arts, but the project still struggled to progress. In late 2018, to try to remedy the situation, Matthew and Greens moved the design team to London to join them and effectively split the studio. The company started hiring for positions in Manchester and London, which sparked speculation online that Sony London was involved with the project, though our sources deny this. The split also led to a further breakdown in communication between the two teams. The death of Sony Manchester. 2019 was a transformative year for Sony in many ways. In November, Guerrilla Games' Herman Hulst became PlayStation's new head of worldwide studios, managing its internal development teams. Meanwhile, Shuhei Yoshida, Worldwide Studios' former president, stepped down from the role and moved into a brand new position as head of independent developer initiatives. As is typical with any restructuring, the new hierarchy led to a review of the company's portfolio and changes from leadership. For one, Sony started to place more scrutiny on the Manchester studio to show progress, with team members also becoming increasingly worried about the inevitable arrival of a new console generation and the uncertain future of PSVR. The team made some progress, but unfortunately, it was all too little, too late. Sony announced in February of the following year that it was closing the Manchester studio along with the London portion of the team. Such a fascinating story all around, and I think just a reminder that supporting something like PSVR, which I think, really makes this article relevant in the sense that we are getting PSVR 2, so we know that Sony does see VR in their future. They are investing in VR for the foreseeable future, for at least the generation of the PlayStation 5. But it's not enough to just make studios and have them work on a VR game and have that be enough. You need to have proper leadership in place, proper support. And it's so interesting hearing how micromanaging can really just throw a wrench in everything. You really do need to be able to trust the team that you have and just start really working on the game in terms of getting it into production. The struggle of this not really ever getting off the ground. It's unfortunate, but it's also just so fascinating. And, I'm curious as to how many things like this exist out in game development. I mean, certainly, people always talk about what are your most anticipated, or the games that got canceled that you're really bummed about. And I'm honestly, it's probably a game that I was never aware of is usually the answer to that question. And I think this story about, Rescue for Short is one of those. So really just reading this makes me hope that lessons were learned and different approaches will be taking place for the future of supporting VR. And speaking of unfortunate situations developers find themselves in, Outriders dev doesn't know how many copies it sold and hasn't earned any royalties. This comes from Joe Scrubbles over at IGN. With the subhead, People Can Fly suggests the game may not have been profitable due to Square Enix's choices. The article reads, Outriders developer People Can Fly says it doesn't know how many copies the game has sold and hasn't earned any royalties from the game, suggesting it hasn't yet been profitable for publisher Square Enix. Announced on the developer's investor website, People Can Fly explained that the agreement with Square Enix meant it wouldn't receive any royalties for the game's first quarter on sale by August 16th, 2021. Announced on the developer's investor website, People Can Fly explained that the agreement with Square Enix meant it would receive any royalties for the game's first quarter on sale by August 16th, 2021. No funds were transferred, which People Can Fly suggests mean that, according to the publisher, the revenues from the sale of the game are lower than the total cost of production, including quality assurance, distribution, and promotion. People Can Fly executive Sebastian Rojankowski, per Machine Translation, added that the company had no firm data for copies sold. Quote, "We don't have any sales figures for Outriders. We estimated at between 2 and 3 million units and assumed that this was a result that would ensure profitability for this project in the first quarter of sales. The lack of payment by the publisher probably means that according to Square Enix, this is not the case." Rojankowski also suggests that a lack of profitability could be caused by the publisher, including distribution partnerships. The game was launched in Xbox Game Pass, for example. Or that Square Enix spent more than expected on releasing the game. It wouldn't be a unique situation for Square Enix. Last year, the publisher announced that Marvel's Avengers had failed to recoup its development costs a few months after launch. Wojciechowski added that the game was still being worked on. People Can Fly expects more promotional work from Square Enix and that the sales tail of the Outriders game is ahead of us. As a result, the company expects royalties to begin later this year. We've contacted Square Enix for comment. Working with the publisher has many advantages, but also its disadvantages, Wojciechowski explained. One of them is the low impact of people can fly on sales activities and the incompleteness, or as in this case, the lack of data obtained from the publisher in this regard. This is one of the reasons why, apart from working with publishers, we've decided to develop projects whose IP will remain the property of the company and which will be published by the company. So yeah, this is just one of those weird situations that I suppose makes a degree of sense if you are in tune with like how those contracts work and how that business works. But it's just wild to think that you wouldn't know that information. Yeah, it's just an odd situation. You know, hopefully they do recoup what they've spent and go beyond that and have like a profitable and ultimately successful game. At the same time, it's kind of in that awkward place where a lot of people played Outriders and we're like, oh, this would be like a cool games as a service game, but it's not a games as a service game. So people have obviously dropped off of it. I know that like I tried it through Game Pass, so I'm one of the people that also didn't buy it. I also know that it was sort of like fine, you know, I don't think that game blew anyone's mind, but it was ultimately, you know, decently well received, I would say. You know, on Metacritic, it's currently sitting at like a 73. So, you know, not mind blowing, but a respectable score. At least that's like the critic score of the game. So we'll just have to see, you know, what happens with this. Hopefully we get an update on it over time and can find out when they finally have a little bit more of that data and have actually earned royalties on their game. Also, I just want to say, like, the setup of, you know, we're told that we would get royalties for the first quarter by August 16th. And like nothing was transferred. Like that has so much freelance energy to it. It's like, okay, I was supposed to get money. If I made anything off this, I'll get it on this day. And that day comes and goes and you're like, nope, it's not happening. Moving on to game event recaps, let's talk about Call of Duty Vanguard's reveal. And for this, I'm pulling from Andrew Webster's summary over at The Verge. With the headline, Call of Duty Vanguard brings the series back to World War II in November. Subhead, the shooter was announced amid weeks of controversy at Activision Blizzard. The article reads, as expected, Sledgehammer Games officially announced the next Call of Duty with the reveal of Vanguard, which will be launching in November. The new shooter is set during World War II and will feature a historically inspired single-player campaign, along with a multiplayer mode and integration with Call of Duty Zombies and Warzone. The announcement comes as Sledgehammer's parent company, Activision Blizzard, and in particular Overwatch developer Blizzard, has come under fire for a culture of sexual harassment spurred by a lawsuit filed by the state of California. Since then, employees have staged a walkout and multiple high-profile developers at Blizzard have left the studio, including President J. Allen Brack. During a meeting with the press last week, Sledgehammer Studio head Aaron Hallen opened with a statement regarding the situation. The stories and the pain that have been shared are simply devastating. We love making games. It's what we do. It's our life's work, and we love it. But more importantly, we're humans. We're here for each other, working side by side and looking out for one another in good times and bad. So on behalf of Sledgehammer Games and all the teams supporting Call of Duty Vanguard, harassment of any kind goes against everything we stand for as a studio. Everyone, regardless of their title, role, gender, orientation, or ethnicity, deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. While we can't comment on the lawsuit, what I can say is that as a team, we are committed to making sure all members feel safe, welcomed, and respected. So please know that these thoughts and actions are at the top of our minds and will be going forward. They speak to the core values of who we are and who we wish to be. As for the game itself, the core of Vanguard is its single-player campaign, which focuses on the origin of the Special Forces, and it will be told from multiple points of view. In addition to the Sledgehammer narrative team, sci-fi writer Tochi Oyebuchi is also working on the story. Sledgehammer says the narrative will cover the untold stories of multinational heroes that form Task Force 1, changing the face of history and setting the stage for Special Forces as we know it. It'll feature a cast of characters inspired by real-world personalities like Lieutenant Polina Petrov, based on Soviet sniper Lyudmila Pavlichenko, also known as Lady Death. Outside of the campaign, there will be multiplayer with 20 maps at launch and game modes including Champion Hill, where players duel solo or in squads of 2 or 3. There will also be a zombies mode developed by Black Ops Studio Treyarch, which will connect the previous Undead story from Black Ops Cold War. At the same time, Raven Software is leading the development on the Vanguard map for the Battle Royale spin-off Warzone. When the new map launches later this year, it'll be accompanied by the new anti-cheat system. According to Activision, the company describes the crossover as an all-new metaverse connecting Vanguard, Black Ops Cold War, and Modern Warfare. Call of Duty Vanguard is launching on November 5th and will be coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, and PC. And just to add to this, I do want to shout out Ian Walker's article over on Kotaku that says Activision name conspicuously absent from Call of Duty Vanguard marketing. Missing logos look mighty peculiar in the wake of Activision Blizzard's abuse lawsuit. And they mentioned this strange phenomenon was first noticed by Twitter user Nexon619, who pointed out that at the end of the Call of Duty Vanguard trailer, it didn't include an Activision logo alongside those for developing studios, Sledgehammer Games, Treyarch, and Beenox. In fact, the video doesn't mention Activision anywhere, but in the legally required small print copyright information. A quick examination of previous reveal trailers on the series' official YouTube page shows that a prominent Activision logo has been present as far back as the announcement video for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which was first uploaded to the channel in May 23rd, 2011. Twitter user Nexon also highlighted the fact that Activision's logo is missing from the Call of Duty Vanguard page on Battle.net. Nexon also highlighted the fact that Activision's logo is missing from the Call of Duty Vanguard page on Battle.net, the company's digital storefront. Again, Kotaku confirmed this is a common inclusion on several platforms. Call of Duty listing where Activision's graphics can be seen positioned above the logos for games like Modern Warfare, Black Ops Cold War, and Black Ops 4. Call of Duty has continued to expand into an incredible universe of experiences, an Activision rep told Kotaku. This was a creative choice that reflects how Vanguard represents the next major installment in the franchise. And again, these are ways that we can see these real-world human issues playing into the development and the marketing of these games. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a weird situation. On one hand, I can understand them not wanting to be associated with Activision Blizzard, but on the other hand, they are Activision Blizzard. So it's like, it's kind of an odd situation because on one hand, I understand them not wanting to be associated with Activision. On the other hand, they are associated with Activision. And I feel like it's kind of uncomfortable to have that distancing because I don't think that distancing is exclusively a moral choice. I think it is very much a marketing money choice, and I think that's what makes it kind of like fucked up. So yeah, it feels a little bit shady. Like on one hand, you are like coming out with these statements and saying like, yes, I'm acknowledging this is the forefront, this is part of like the fabric of what we're doing, but also it's like to distance yourself in the marketing makes it seem like you don't want consumers to know or to realize or to think about that Call of Duty is Activision. And yeah, that doesn't sit right with me. So we'll see how this goes moving forward. I would be surprised if we see any Activision logos prominently featured in any of the marketing for this game. And now let's talk about the Pokemon Presents presentation. And for this, I'll be pulling from My Nintendo News' recap just a little bit, especially for those granular details about like what's going on with the side content of Pokemon. So again, this presentation opened up with the side content. We talked about Pokemon Unite, which is going to be available for download on mobile September 22nd, 2021. So if you don't have a Switch but have wanted to play this game, there you go. And the cool thing about it is that you will be able to just log in with the same info, so you can have it across both your Switch and your mobile device. There's some additional perks, like if pre-registration totals reach 2.5 million players, you receive the Unite license for Pikachu. And if it hits 5 million pre-registration players, you will get a special HoloWare Festival-style Pikachu, which looks just totally adorable. And then if those thresholds end up getting hit, then trainers can claim these licenses by like logging into the mobile version of Unite and completing the login event by October 31st, 2021 at 7:59 a.m. PT. Pokemon Unite players can also log into the Nintendo Switch version of the game right now to receive the Unite license for Zeraora as a special gift. You just have to log in and claim it by August 31st, 2021. Players can also look forward to Mamoswine and Sylveon coming into the game. They're going to be the next playable Pokemon to join Pokemon Unite. Pokemon Cafe Mix is getting a revamp and a rename, so it's now going to be called Pokemon Cafe Remix, and it will include new puzzle elements with more Pokemon, new dress-up options, and more ways of growing and developing staff Pokemon. So now Pokemon will be able to eat delicious meals that you make for them, and they'll be more friendly and willing to become staff. There's new puzzle skills that will make it easier to clear puzzles and will introduce in Pokemon Cafe Remix, as well as the ability to combine megaphones to make them more powerful, and golden acorns collected in Pokemon Cafe Mix will transfer to Pokemon Cafe Remix. This is a game that has like the most gorgeous art style. Like, I am in love with how it looks, but I hate the gameplay. I find it incredibly boring, but it is free to play if you want to check it out. And Remix is dropping fall 2021. Pokemon Masters EX celebrates its 2-year anniversary, and with that comes more stuff. It's going to have a new legendary event, Howling Shield of Eternity, and the power of Dynamaxing are coming to the game from 10:59 PT to September 15th. On September 15th, players can assist Gloria, Hop, and Leon as they try to help the legendary Pokemon Eternatus, which has arrived on the island through a mysterious meteor. Playing through these events will reward players with the Sync Pair, Hop, and Zamazenta gems and other useful items. And during the event, Signa Suit, Leon, and Eternatus will also be making their debut as a Sync Pair, so trainers can add them to their team. And then trainers should also keep out an eye for the return of N and other Sync Pairs soon as part of the 2-year anniversary celebration. N will be wearing an interesting new outfit and can be paired with a Pokemon capable of doing damage to all foes at once. Pokemon Go celebrates its 5-year anniversary, and with it, Pokemon from the Galar region will be making an appearance in Pokemon Go from the August 20th to August 31st. I'm talking Wooloo, Squirvet, Phalanx, whole squad's coming through, and they can be encountered in the wild, while Galarian legendary Pokemon Zacian will be making a debut in 5-star raids from the 20th to the 26th of August, followed by Zamazenta from August 26th to September 1st. And that brings us to the remix. I'm talking Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl. Here are some highlights of what was shown off. We got to look at these super contest shows, which include rhythm games. So you see the Pokemon moving and grooving, dancing about, showing off. We saw a bit of the capsule decoration where you can sort of put little stickers onto Pokeballs and it changes the effect of when the Pokemon come out of the balls. So things like confetti and things coming out. We got to look at the Grand Underground where you'll be digging for fossils or decorating your own secret base. And one interesting aspect of that is based on what you put in your secret base, it will change what kind of Pokemon appear in the Pokemon hideaways, which are new to the game. And some Pokemon are only available in these hideaways, so the base and the decoration is really going to play a role if you're looking to complete that Pokedex in this game. And you can do these underground adventures via local or wireless if you want to team up with other people to do them. Another new element is clothing and fashion. So they look at stuff like your leather jacket style, your Gengar style, or your Cyber style. So you can have these different clothes, which is cool and new to this game in particular. And one of the biggest reveals is that you can have fun adventuring together with your Pokemon. So any Pokemon can be a follower Pokemon for you. So go ahead and pick your fave and have them follow you around and it'll be super adorable. They also revealed a special edition Nintendo Switch Lite that's gonna drop on November 5th, and it features Dialga and Palkia on the back as sort of these little decals that are gold and silver, and the Switch itself is basically like a gray color. And then that brings us to Pokemon Legends Arceus. Here your job is to create the first Pokedex. It's a time where Pokemon life and human life was very much still separated, and you have Jubilife Village that's going to serve as your sort of central base, where you're going to be part of the Galaxy Expedition team, which is made up of different divisions such as Medical Security and Survey. You are part of the Survey part of it. There's the Professor, who is all about the ecology of Pokemon, but you also have characters like Captain Celine, who's the leader of the Survey Corp, and Commander Kamado, who oversees the entire Galaxy team. So you have these base camps that are sort of like little tents where you prepare for your survey work before you go out there. So you prepare by buying items or crafting new items, and that's also where you can go back to rest and recover, heal your Pokemon if needed, and then you return to the village with your completed quest. Catching Pokemon has some changes, like you actually have to go and aim your Pokeball, and if you want to battle, you toss a Pokeball with, one of your Pokemon just near the wild Pokemon. And one of the most interesting things to come out of this are the battle changes. So again, you engage in battle with the Pokemon, and you'll be choosing between a strong style or an agile style. So the former is more powerful but slower, and the agile is the inverse. So it allows you to kind of take multiple turns potentially if you're doing that, faster style, or maybe just like get out the final punch if you're doing the strong style. So you're going to have a little bit of that extra layer of strategy to your battles. So they have a dodge roll, which initially struck me as kind of odd, but they showed off like this sort of weird environmental event happening where the Pokemon get really mad and their eyes are all red, and they'll straight up just fight you. Like, it's not just like they'll run up to battle you, they will electrocute you, they will swipe at you. So you're going to be using this dodge to actually like avoid taking damage and fainting as a result from these Pokemon just squaring up on you, which was definitely like a really wild thing to see. In the trailer, they showed off some fun rideables, like you have basically a glider that is attached to Hisuian Braviary, which is a variant of just the regular Braviary that's unique to this area. They showed off you using as a water rideable Basculegion, who is an evolution of Basculin. And they show you riding Reardeer, who is this just completely gorgeous Pokemon that evolves from Stantler. So those are a little bit of the rideables they showed for traversing the area. And for other like new Pokemon shown off, again, I already mentioned most of them, but I also want to give a shout out to Hisuian Growlithe, who's so adorable. It has like these big fluffy bangs that cover its eyes, and has like a little like horn thing on its head, and I think it has like a rock element associated with it, but it's just like the cutest thing. I love this Pokemon so much. So the game seems really cool. I think both the games have their merits. Obviously with the remakes, they're kind of a little bit of a known quantity. Like if you like those games overall, you'll probably like the remakes fine. And if you never played them, I hear those are pretty good games. So I feel like it's all good. Like I think those Pokemon games will probably be enjoyable. But for Pokemon Legends Arceus, that's a little bit more up in the air in the sense that that's actually just a straight up new product. I'm excited for it. It seems like it's, more open and more adventurous than previous installations in the franchise. However, the thing I always keep going back to is we keep asking for like open world Pokemon, Breath of the Wild Pokemon. And while this looks like it has a lot of those trappings, I am cautious about saying or acting like this Pokemon adventure is going to like solve any of the complaints or qualms I have with the series. Just because I think when we all saw the wild area at first, it seemed like, oh, they're really doing what we've been wanting them to do. They're really pushing the envelope. And I think it was a step in the right direction. And I think that laid the groundwork for this game to exist. However, I do think the wild area was a little bit underwhelming. And so as a result, I hesitate to look at this and just say, yup, this is going to be everything I've ever wanted. I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be an improvement. I'm not ready to say that this is, the evolution Pokemon has been needing for years and years to come. I'm not ready to make that statement, but I am excited about what I see. And, I love Pokemon games. So I think this is going to be a really fun adventure. I just don't necessarily think it's going to move the needle as crazily as it looks like it might. It could really go either way, but if I had to bet, I'm guessing it's not going to be the revolution that everyone's hoping for. Moving on to game releases and updates, I'm going to go through these super quickly. Cyberpunk is getting its first bit of free additional content, aka free DLC, but it's basically like just cosmetic kind of stuff. You get an alternate appearance for Johnny Silverhand. You get the Archer Quartz Bandit, which is a different vehicle, which you can unlock by nabbing the bandit after finishing the Ghost Town job. And you get new jackets for V, which can be found in V's apartment. And then again, for the Johnny Silverhand alteration, you can just switch that up in the game settings. That's the entirety of that DLC. Fortnite has come out with a new mode called Imposters, and essentially it is Among Us in Fortnite, but it is not an official collaboration. They are presenting it as their own thing, and that has kind of caused some controversy in the space, and the devs seem to not be the biggest fan of the fact that they weren't contacted about it. It does have a lot of similarities to Among Us with the tasks you do, with being like the ability to call meetings and find who the imposter is. All of that stuff is very similar. I haven't had time to dive into the mode myself, but we'll see how it ends up being received by the like actual Fortnite community and whether or not this is a mode that gets a lot of playtime. And I do want to highlight that Monster Train is now on Switch because I saw a couple people talking about this as a really cool game that is now finally on the platform. It is $29.99. And Monster Train brings a new strategic layer to roguelike deck building with a tactical twist. Defend not 1, but 3 vertical battlegrounds simultaneously. And people just speak really highly of this game, so I do want to highlight it for folks that are into that style of gameplay. And now for the free section, WarioWare has a demo available now. Again, that game itself drops September 10th, but if you want to get a taste of that gameplay, there's a demo that you can download on Switch today. And it's time for that second wave of August Game Pass games. Already made available, we got Humankind on PC, we got Need for Speed Heat via cloud, we have Star Wars Battlefront 2 via cloud, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order via the cloud. Coming soon / very recently released, depending on, when you're listening to this or which games I'm listing from. We got Recompile via cloud, console, Xbox Series X only, and PC. That's already available, and it is an atmospheric Metroidvania-inspired style game. We got Train Sim World 2 via cloud, console, and PC. 12 Minutes is out now. It's an interactive thriller time loop game published by Annapurna. Has a lot of star power in terms of voice actors with James McElroy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. I will say I did beat this game yesterday, and I was not a fan. This game has gotten very contentious reviews. And coming up, the heavy hitter is August 25th. We got Psychonauts 2 hitting cloud, console, and PC. The same day, we also have Myst coming to cloud, console, and PC as well. Those are all the stories we have for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching over on youtube.com/Gameonysus. Be sure to like, subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a comment below. And for listening on podcast services, be sure to subscribe on the service of your choice and leave a review if possible, because it helps the show a whole lot. And as always, a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. You too can join on patreon.com/Gameonysus. We have rewards for as low as the $1 tier all the way up to the $25 tier, and it helps support the show a whole lot. And as always, I will see y'all here next time. Bye.